The times that my social media has quote unquote looked the best, it was when I felt the worst. It was like 100,000 followers a day. At one point, it was surreal. Everyone was like, perfect girl, the perfect couple, the perfect this, the perfect that. And I was like, I want to be that. I don't want to be whatever like is actually happening in here. I want to be that.
So I just want to begin by saying that we're really grateful to be doing this with you, and we really value your decision to do it.
Thank you for making this space. I knew as soon as I would walk into this door, it would feel like almost that space where you're greeted with no masks. It's not possible to have any masks or layer on when you walk into this space. A lot of the success that I've manifested also has come from all of my insecurities, like, and a need to be seen. Even our blessings are sometimes coming from an unhealed part of ourselves, and it's also a lesson that's being learned.
So can you talk about what your style says about you?
I feel like I'm still in a place of self-discovery. I think for a while I felt very out of place in my style. I think for a long time I relied on my body. It would just be more so like as long as it showed off my body, then like it looked good, which I was a model for 10 years. And so I kind of just let people put things on me. And then in my daily life, it was just basic. Like my modeling agency was very, wear as basic as you can, make it look the model off-duty look. But then I didn't have an identity in it. It was very much so, white tank top and jeans, you can't go wrong. As soon as I was 14 years old, I was being put in clothes in front of adults that I wanted to please. I wish we were comfortable and also women felt safe enough to truly dress how they wanted to, because I think this world would be really beautiful if women could do that. And sometimes I have the guts to like go out and like that dress that I loved, and most days I wear like hoodie and track pants and I just go really casual because I don't want to draw attention to myself, even though I do and I don't, and it's very confusing. Growing up as conventionally pretty, I've always wanted to tone myself back because I don't want, girls being like, oh, who do you think she is, kind of an energy, or men being like, I can take advantage. It's just a weird kind of space to be in. For a while I felt very out of place in my style. But this year I made it a priority, and it's been so fun to just build it.
What are assumptions that people make about you based on your appearance?
She's probably not very intellectually stimulating. There's just a level of shock that people have when they talk to me. I have a weird reaction to that because I'm like, thank you? Maybe thank you. I don't know. Sometimes I go into a conversation being aware of the fact that I have to tell myself, you're not proving you're having a conversation, because I'm so used to proving. Just I'm here, I was modeling in Japan, and I was at an audition. They're all talking Japanese. I don't know what they're saying. And I walked back out, and my agent at the time, she was like, do you want me to tell you what they said? And I was like, yeah, they seemed so nice. And she was like, they said that they would never work with you because you have a horse face. And I was like, that, and then also when my modeling agency was like, it'd be really cool if you lost like 10 pounds. Those were like, okay, this is where my value is, this is where my worth is, and then so I'm just gonna make sure that when I hear something like that, I'm gonna take it as, I just have to be better. I didn't take it as in like they're just rude. I took it as, okay, I can position my face so it doesn't look essentially like that, or oh yeah, I can lose 10 pounds. Like I was very much so like, what box do you need me in? I do hide behind my looks. I'm not gonna deny that. I do still do that, and I'm looking for exactly things like this, so that I can break that barrier. And especially going from modeling to acting, models sometimes have a hard time transitioning because they're so used to making sure they look their best in front of the camera and they don't want to look messy. Whereas acting, the camera does not exist. It's such a relief, and it feels so good to not care about where the camera is and to showcase myself as a human. Sometimes I feel guilty because I'm like, I didn't do enough. I should have done more, because when I was 17, 18, and when social media was like, wow, and I was going up with that, I just wanted to be like the hot girl on Instagram. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just living and showcasing my life. And I also was showcasing it in the most perfect way, partly because everything else was in shambles and it was the one thing I could control. I was trying to fix and fit into the modeling box so intensely, to the point where my body just was like, you're bedridden for 3, almost 4 months. The times that my social media has, I guess, quote unquote, looked the best, it was when I felt the worst, because it was all I was focusing on. My mother had just passed away. I was scrambling. And then at the same time, modeling was picking up. So I was in that really intense state of people pleasing. So it was just a perfect storm to be the perfect mess. It's going on almost 10 years, which is so crazy. I'm just like, what? 10 years without my mom? It's like, it's so weird. It's almost the longer it is, the more painful it is. I think when I first lost her, it didn't. I went shopping that day. I was like, I don't know what to do. Let's go shopping. Like, went to buy some clothes. Like, what do you do? You know, you just like, what do you do? 9 months after my mom passed, and then I turned 18, I went to Australia to do a modeling contract. And I think just normally, like, when any girl turns 18, like, you just become more, like, your body just becomes more womanly. Like, that's just what was happening. And the modeling agency there did not like that. My agent at the time, like, sat me down like I was at a school principal's office vibe, just like, you need to lose weight. Like, this just needs to happen now. So then I associated their acceptance with life or death. So it was like, as soon as they said I was okay, I could live again. Energetically. So that's when I started doing the most intense juice cleanses. I was juicing for like 2 months at a time.
Meaning not eating anything?
Not eating anything. And then I started getting really skinny, like a lot tinier than I, it was, you know, like that unhealthy look, that almost like drugged out look. That's what started to happen. And my agency was stoked. I relied a lot on adrenaline. I couldn't do much during the day. My body just like canceled me for 2-3 months, and I had to think about it. And my god sister, she sat me down and she was like, I can't change what you're doing, but I'm just letting you know that if you keep doing this, you are repeating exactly what your mother did. And
she had eating disorders?
So that was hard pill to swallow. It's a denial of being human. Like, you're denying your existence. That's literally an abusive relationship with your body. Anytime I doubt something, I always just say my body is the first to know. My body was just like, this is actually my way of protecting you, because you were going down a road of killing yourself, like through not giving yourself the right food, not eating at all, traveling, not sleeping correctly, being with someone that was too young to acknowledge what was happening.
And so was this during like the height of you becoming like big on Instagram? Or?
Yeah, it was like 100,000 followers a day. At one point, it was surreal. It was crazy. Everyone was like, perfect girls, the perfect couple, the perfect this, the perfect that. And I was like, I want to be that. I don't want to be whatever like is actually happening in here. I want to be that. So I, like, wouldn't you? You know, it's like, I don't, yeah, sure, I'm that. I'm not this, what's actually happening. Social media is, as much as it's like crazy and intense and wow, there's like 100,000, you know, there's millions of people following you. It's still just a phone most of the time. And so, so like the times that it was surreal was when, like, you know, I would be traveling and there would be like hundreds of people at the airport waiting for me. That was like the surreal moments. It didn't feel overwhelming until bad things started to happen in my life, and then everyone had an opinion about it. There's going to always be a point in fame, no matter who you are, where people are gonna turn on you. It's innately what we wanna do when someone's like all the way up there. It's like, okay, your time's good, and then we pull them down. It's just something we do, and I do it too. Like we literally all do it, like every single person. Because there was so much dopamine and serotonin being pumped into my system of all the validation that I didn't have time to think about my brokenness. Because I was like always being put into scenarios in which I had to be Alexis Ren, like the character that I created, you know, the avatar. I like to separate myself from her because it helps me understand that she's just one aspect of me. I was so busy being her and honestly creating her that I had very little time to be sad and feel everything, but then it came out in my physical health. The turning point for me was when I started having anxiety attacks. After I was bedridden for like a couple months, it was about a year after that, I was like literally on the floor trying to catch my breath. I was definitely in a healthier space with my food. So I kind of thought, like, once again, right, we look at like these physical, like simple, all right, if I just, you know, work on my food, then everything's gonna be okay. But actually that was a manifestation of the undealt emotional trauma. Like everything's one thing. I hadn't dealt with the whole picture of it. But that's what I learned over the last couple of years. But the anxiety attacks was definitely okay, I thought I fixed it with starting to eat again, but clearly something else is going on.
What were you fixing?
So I hadn't grieved my mom While I was having these anxiety attacks, I ended up going to Hawaii, and I kind of did my own mental health physical retreat. I learned breath work. I started journaling because I wanted to see what was I actually thinking, like what were going into my thoughts every day.
What were the things that were coming
Just
up
this
in
this
that?
constant, like, it's never enough. It's never enough likes. It's never enough fame. It's never enough validation. It's never enough. It is never enough. It's so freeing to let that go, to just know that it's never going to be enough and then let it go. You know, it was as simple as, okay, I got, 1 million likes on my photos. Okay, now I want to get 2 million likes. It was as simple as that, but it was detrimental to me becoming the person I wanted to be. That's what I broke down in Hawaii. That was the conclusion I came to was, oh wow, it really is never going to be enough. I look for flow state now. And flow state to me is when you kind of like lose track of time. It's that moment where, whether it's like a good conversation or you're dancing, it's that state. I look for that. That's why I dance. I prioritize creativity as much as I can, because I know that that's going to build my identity and the depth of my soul.
When do you feel the most vulnerable?
When I read my amateur poetry out loud. I think it's innately because that's my mind, and I didn't value my mind for a very long time. I didn't think my mind had value. I thought my value was the physical aspect of myself.
And how about like in relationships?
There had been times where I knew after that the relationship was more based upon my physical or attractiveness as opposed to like a spiritual attractiveness. Because what people forget is that I'm growing old and dying too. That's been very scary because men are attracted to me, but like, will they stay when things get ugly and not so beautiful? And because that's gonna happen.
When do you feel the most beautiful?
When I dance, ballet specifically. I stopped doing it for like 6 years because it was also one of the things that contributed to my eating disorder. And I knew that when I went back into it, it was gonna be a huge moment. Just like proof, like this is how much you've healed. You're going into this and you don't feel like that anymore. I was scared to go back into it because I knew that it was gonna show me if I had healed. So instead of looking at my body as this thing that's either beautiful or not, I look at it as, look at this machine that like I'm here because of. And I make sure that every single day I'm doing something to showcase my strength and my relationship with my body. Those things that we did as a kid that we didn't end up doing as adults, that is still a calling. And just because we didn't become, the famous, most amazing version of whatever you thought you were gonna be, still do it, because it lights up and it reminds you of who you were before all of the programming. Like, I don't do it for any reason other than it's how I connect to my spirit. It's just, that's enough for me.
Why in your body, in your skin, in your journey, why is it a good place to be?
I wouldn't have strived for this much wisdom and experience if I had a mother. The worst thing that has ever happened to me was literally the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I wouldn't have been this whole of a person without that whole being created. Whatever breaks your heart is the path. It's the path. I fully believe that.
So how do you feel now that you're undressed and revealed and shared everything?
I feel a lot more calm than when I first started. I feel present. I'm here now. So thank you guys, like really.
Well, thank you. This is really, really, really beautiful, and we're very honored and happy to have you here.
Thank you to Biography, a line of clean, active face oils, for supporting us and bringing this episode of What's Underneath to life.
I am a personal, humongous fan of Biography. I use all 3 face oils. It is such an amazing experience to smell them and to put them on. I feel like my skin has been so enhanced by them. Lily, do you use it too?
Well, I think you gave me it first because you were trying to help me take better care of my skin, and now I use this Petty Grudges every single day. My skin feels glowy and like a baby. Head over to biographynyc.com and use code YourStory25 for 25% off your first purchase.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of What's Underneath with Alexis Ren.
For more videos like this, subscribe to StyleLikeU.